In our last program, we talked about how to deal with difficult people, and if difficult people get away from you, the next thing you need to know is how do you handle a complaint. What I'd like to do in this session is show you a simple formula that I came up with that helps you resolve guest complaints successfully, probably 95% of the time. The big problem with dealing with complaints is nobody ever teaches you how to do it. So let's take a look at that. Here's a couple of things to understand. 7 out of 10 people who have a problem will do business with you again if you resolve the complaint in their favor. And I will suggest to you that there is no way to resolve a guest complaint other than in favor of the guest. They do not resolve any way other than that. This is not about right or wrong. This is about your business and what it's worth to me over time. You remember we talked about that a guest is worth 1,000, potentially worth 1,000 times what they would spend with you in the course of a year. So that's the point. It's not about being right. So 70% if you resolve it in their favor. If you resolve it on the spot, 95% will do business with you again. And this is the case for giving the servers the authority that they need to handle what comes up at the table at the time. Because as soon as you say, wait a minute, let me get a manager, you've automatically made the situation worse. People's moods go down and think, oh, that's why I told you not to sell. Jesus, this is what I need now. All of that. So, and the nice thing is, if people will talk about it, satisfied people tell 5 people. Not as many people as tell people that have problems, but there you are. So here's my little formula for handling complaints, and I did it as a bit of a formula because I really couldn't trust myself not to react emotionally. Because the very first, your automatic reaction when you get a complaint is absolutely the wrong one, and that's to get defensive and try to explain. We mentioned that before. When you're upset, what you really want is someone explaining to you why you shouldn't be upset, right? So this was just a way to keep yourself on track. And so when you get a complaint, recognize that you're getting a gift. Because if only 1 in 25 will tell you when things aren't right, here is a person speaking for 24 others who chose not to speak up, telling you what you can do to make them happy, and that is a gift. You may not like the way it's wrapped, but it's a gift nonetheless. And you have to listen, and listen without distraction. Remember we talked about how irritating it was to talk to somebody who's not listening to you? If you're in my face with a complaint, I guarantee you there is nothing else that I can be doing right now that's worth $50,000. Calming language at that point, maybe, if they're being unreasonable. And then I have to apologize. I have to use one of 2 words, either apologize or sorry. And we're not copping anything here. We're not saying, gee, I'm sorry I poisoned your whole family. But I'm so sorry that you're upset. And I am sorry that you're upset. You jerk. No, but I am sorry that you're upset. And why you're upset is not an issue. You have to deal with the upset, not the circumstances of the upset. But no defense, no excuses. If it's a food-related thing, get it out of there. Don't, if they're complaining about a bug in the salad, don't let them sit there and watch that critter crawl around the radicchio while we discuss this thing. It is gone. And then suggest a very generous replacement or a solution. I mean, you know what's right. Don't get into this, what would it take to make it right for you, because that can really get strange. It's very uncomfortable for a lot of people, and it can take you to some very strange places. Because you say, what would it take to make it right for you? They say, well, I think you ought to comp my dinner. They say, well, I can't comp your dinner, but I'll take care of the entree. I said, okay, well, how about an appetizer? I said, can't do the appetizer, but I'll go for dessert. I say, good, well, I'll see your dessert, and I'll raise you a glass of wine. I mean, it's bizarre. The only thing that I have seen work is to say, look, whatever it is that you need, you already have it. Just tell me what it is. But in general, and I know managers who say, well, when I ask the guests what it would take to make it right for them, they always suggest something less than what I was willing to give them in the first place. And I think, well, that's wonderful. Did they come back? You got to understand, this is not about the free dessert. It's about the 50 grand. Then I got to make it right. If I'm going to comp it, I need to tell you right now that I'm going to comp it, because I don't want you sitting around wondering what are they going to do about that, because the longer you sit around wondering what are we going to do about it, the lower the mood gets. The lower the mood gets, the bigger the problem looks, and the more of a solution it's going to take to make it right for you. And then I have to allow for the hassle factor. And the hassle factor says replace plus one. Hassle factor says make it better than it was. Example of the hassle factor. I would assume that somewhere in the audience there's some women that are into good shoes. The shoe ladies will understand exactly what I'm talking about. So let's say that you're looking for a good pair of shoes. You look all around the area where you are and you can't find anything that you want, but you know there's this little boutique in a resort area about 50 miles away is probably going to have just what you need. So you drive over there on your day off and you park the car and you go in and you get the shoes and you drive back home. And a week later you start to have a problem with the shoes. So you get back in the car and you drive the 50 miles and you find the parking and you go into the shop and you say, I'm having a problem with these shoes. And they say, well, we stand behind our merchandise. Here's a new pair. Are you 100% thrilled? I mean, it's better than if they gave you a hard time, right? But if it was right in the first place, I wouldn't have had all the hassle of losing a half a day to drive there and back and the parking and all the rest of it. So the hassle factor would say, of course, here's a new pair of shoes, and here's a couple pair of hose for your trouble. Of course, here's a new pair of shoes, here's $25 off on your next pair. Of course, there's no charge for the salad and the dessert's on me tonight. Something to make up for the inconvenience of the fact that it wasn't 100% right in the first place, because that's what it takes to balance the scale. Again, it's not about right or wrong. It's not about a free dessert. It's about the 50 grand. And then I got to give you a reason to return. I have to replace the experience of it went wrong and they fixed it with the experience of it was perfect, because we are creatures of habit. So I need to give you a reason to come back to show you that we can do a better job than that. If they don't come back, you're not out anything. And if they do, that's one less shot that your competitors have to make an impression on it. And I think everything down to here can be done and should be done, in my book anyway, by the server at the table at the time. And then let the manager know, because this is not about comp your way to success. I mean, if you operate like this, are there people who will take advantage of you? You bet your life there are. But it probably isn't as bad as we think. Those people drive us crazy, but I don't know if you know, Hampton Inn has this guarantee that said if you don't like the room, it's free. Just tell us you don't like the room. There's no charge. You think, what a scam, man. We'll go cross country, stay in them Hampton Inns, just tell them we didn't like it. My friends at Hampton tell me 0.3%. 3 out of 1,000 actually do that. And I don't know if those numbers hold in the restaurant business, but they probably do. And what it means is if I serve 1,000 people, I'm going to run into 3 jerks. And if I comp the meal for those 3 jerks, I'm selling at a 0.3 discount. You think you could handle a 0.3 discount? If nothing else, it's not worth your peace of mind about it. Somebody has a problem. You say, well, I expected to run into 3 jerks tonight. You're one of them. Good. 2 to go. But think about it. Again, it's not about comping your way to success. But I tell you what, if you have to comp $1,000 worth of food some month because food is slow coming out of the kitchen, I guarantee you will figure out why food is slow coming out of the kitchen, and you will fix it. If you don't comp the food, things are still slow coming out of the kitchen. It's still costing you money, but you don't know it. And I would always rather know it. And when you pay off on your own guarantees, if you don't meet your own standards and you have to pay off on it, it puts it in the record and it gives you a reason to make it right. If you like ideas like this, there's a book that I did called Cashing In on Complaints where we go into a lot more detail about this. But understand that most people who complain to you really are on your side. The ones that hate you and are out to get you will just leave and they won't talk to you. They'll just talk to all their friends. So we call the book Turning Disappointed Diners into Gold, because here are people telling you what you can do to make their experience better, and that is great information to have if you listen to it. So the points in handling complaints is to understand that it always costs me more to lose a guest than it costs me to keep one. We sometimes get caught up in, oh, gee, the cost of the soup or the cost of a dessert or the cost of a glass of wine or something, and forget about the $50,000 that this person's going to bring to us in the next 5 years. There's always going to be a few people who will take advantage of you. That's just the price of admission. Don't worry about it. It's not worth your peace of mind to go nuts about that. And handling a complaint well, and this always seems strange, but people are more loyal to you. If they have a problem and you fix it well, they are more loyal to you than if they never had a problem at all. And now, that's not to suggest we should go out there and screw things up just so we can fix them. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities to screw it up without that. But understand that people who complain really want to have a good time with you, and they really want to help that happen. And if you can do that, they're yours for life.